Daylight, my MVVs, welcome. Now, while the palace of the Ooni of Ife is celebrating its New Yam Festival, there's been, a very serious tension in the palace as a woman that is called Iya Inile, dies in her sleep after attempting to prepare Asìri Èwà for wives with Ooni of Ife's stolen sacred bead. This is what we are hearing. If the information is correct, they said that it's been a very serious confusion going on in the palace of the Ooni of Ife right about now because of the buying of this woman. It is not a small thing, no. If a servant act like a child of the house, chaos will confuse who is truly guilty. This is an African adage. Yes, so they say Iya Inile was found by in her sleep before dawn. She had gone to bed the night before like every other day after completing her usual evening prayers and washing her face with bitter water. Something she had done for years, but this time something was different. The last thing anyone expected was to find her body lying cold beside a cracked, ritual plate, her mouth wide open in silent terror, her eyes bulging as though she had been, something no living being was supposed to see. She was not an ordinary woman. Iya Inile was one of the oldest women, trusted with deep knowledge in the royal household. She had served 3 kings, and her wisdom is in ritual, chant, sacred herbs, and secret rite made her a backbone to many women in the palace, especially the Oloris who didn't always know how to navigate the spiritual system of the ancient, kingdom of Ile Ife. This is where the story becomes dangerous because the cry of Iya Inile is not an ordinary cry. It is the result of a spiritual mistake. No, a spiritual crime. The Ooni of Ife not long ago made a powerful declaration after several months of observing changes in behavior decision among his wife, unexplainable patterns of jealousy, midnight movement, and even signs of spiritual interference. He summoned his inner circle and declared that immunity will be removed, and that was where all the problems started. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Delaram. I bring you fresh and spicy gist from the sources still on the royals. How are you guys doing? I appreciate you guys so much. I love you. Show all my people. Happy new midweek to you. I love you guys so much. So what is going on, if the information we are hearing is correct, is that, Iya Inile had made an attempt to prepare a sacred charm with a bead from the Ooni of Ife for some of his Oloris. Remember that they had asked for Asìri Èwà. Asìri Èwà happens to be a covering. Like if the Ooni of Ife is going to remove immunity from his Oloris, sometimes there are some Oloris who may not necessarily be guilty, or over time the Ooni washes and he sees that some are becoming very repentant and all of that, he might decide to cover them with Asìri Èwà. That's a temporary covering, made available to them until, they begin to change. And so they demanded for Asìri Èwà. They said Ooni of Ife refused to give to them, and they became very agitated and decided to look for a way to get that Asìri Èwà. As we are hearing, if the information is correct, they said when Ooni of Ife decided immunity it would be taken away. Now, if you have been following the trend of event, immunity in Ile Ife Royal Palace is not like political immunity. It is spiritual. Every wife of the Ooni, upon being married and accepted into the palace, receives a sacred spiritual covering. That covering protects her from disgrace, from public, being publicly shamed, from spiritual backlash, and from sudden, disfavor. It protects her status, even protect her from certain ancestral consequences. So when the Ooni announced that immunity was going to be removed from certain wives, it was a thunderous decision. A few of the Oloris immediately began to weep during the meeting. Others knelt and begged. Some did not speak, but their faces showed raw panic. It wasn't just about honor, it's about survival. Because once immunity is removed, the spiritual weight of your character begins to speak for you. Every hidden jealousy, every charm buried under the soil, every lie, every night movement, every bad intention, every everything becomes spiritually visible. Enemies can attack, the palace spirit can judge, even the Oni himself becomes spiritually permitted to reject you without shame. It's like being spiritually naked in a thunderstorm. That is what immunity represents in the palace of the Ooni of Ife, and so many other palaces, okay? So some of the Oloris, according to what is going on, approach the Oni again in private. They ask him to at least cover them with Asìri Èwà. They say one of those Oloris were Ebony's family. Asìri Èwà is an ancient spiritual rite. I've explained this over again. Performed only within the royal palace and only for very specific situations. It's not immunity, it's temporary. It is a sacred veil used to, cover someone when the throne is testing their character or watching their behavior. It allows a person to function under observation without complete exposure, but it is only given at the discretion of the Ooni of Ife with the approval of the palace spirit. And most importantly, the ritual must be done using one of the sacred beads of the Ooni of Ife himself. Each bit of the Oni is spiritually programmed. It is not just an accessory. It holds covenant with deities. It holds ancestral oath. Touching it wrongly or using it without permission can awaken forces no one can control. They only refused their request. He said no more covering, no more shield. He wanted to see them as they were. He wanted their heart to stand on their own. No Asìri Èwà, no helping, nothing. Okabiesi refused to give them anything. But some of the Oloris were too afraid to walk into the open without a covering. They feared disgrace. They feared being sent out of the palace. They feared other wives who might take advantage of their exposure. So in secret, they turned to one person who could help them. They said they went to Iya Inile. Even up until now, a lot of people do not know who went to Iya Inile. They begged her. Some of them wept. Some reportedly told her, if you don't help us, we are finished. They promised her gift. They reminded her of all the time she had helped previous Oloris maintain favor in the eyes of former kings. At first, she refused. She warned them about, Ogundaye that has been released, the deity of rage, vengeance, and judgment. She told them that touching the only sacred bead without his knowledge was, crossing a line between his wall and the wall of the spirit. But fear is a strong force, and pity is a dangerous weakness for a woman like Iya Inile. Eventually, they say Iya Inile gave in, and so the next move was made. A sacred bead of the Ooni of Ife was brought to her. Okay. Report has it that she had initially said that except they find a way to lovingly collect that bead from the Ooni of Ife. Any wife who has got the favor of the Ooni of Ife can collect the bead from them. They say Iya Inile had even told them to go and be friends with Olori Naomi and see how they can Naomi can give them her own bead, because they said there is one of those beads that Kabiyesi gave to Olori Naomi, and even recently again. Okay, but according to what we are hearing, they brought the bead, and what we are hearing is that the bead was stolen. No one has openly confessed who took it, but those in the palace say it disappeared during a ceremonial washing when the Oni had removed some of his regalia and was performing a private purification rite. Somehow, one of the lesser-known beads was taken, but even the lesser-known bead holds very great power. With a bead in her possession, Iya Inile began the preparation for Asìri Èwà. They said 2 nights ago, Iya Inile had locked herself in, her spiritual chamber. She placed the bead on a white cloth surrounded by sacred leaf and chanted for over an hour. She poured palm oil, crushed 7 bitter kola nut, broke the inner part of an alligator pepper, and began invoking the spirit of concealment, requesting it to descend and cloak the women in temporary, favor. But what she didn't know, what no one had told her, was that the particular bead had been consecrated to, I don't know what is happening, but some people are saying to Ogundaye or whatever. And again, another part of the story is that Iya Inile did not even know that the bead was stolen. That Iya Inile thought that they had gone, the way she advised them to go and try and get the bead lovingly from their husband and bring. She didn't know that the bead was taken even without the consent of the Ooni of Ife. They said If Ooni of Ife will willingly hand that bead over to a wife, the wife could use it to prepare Asìri Èwà to cover herself, but not when somebody takes it without the consent of the Ooni of Ife. And this time, that bead was taken, and they said she tried a day before, and the next day she went to bed and she was struck to dead. This is what we are hearing. If the information is correct, I'm going to bring you more update. Do not forget, these are all alleged, rumored, unverified information making the rounds on social media and should not be seen as fact.